separate dinner. And he did.
Yeah.
And he,
I had a wrapper on my head that said sucker.
yeah, he was opening, was it mussels or mussels?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were flying on people's tables. He was busting them open, and they were hitting people.
Was that the night he stood naked on the balcony and said, "I am Arnold Schwarzenegger"?
That was probably, yes, that was probably the afternoon before that dinner.
Yeah. Valerie, did you want to say anything?
This is hard.
Yeah.
God, I'm like Vicki. I'm not a person who does this kind of thing. In fact, I told Jeff I wouldn't, but I guess I'm going to. I'm Jeff's wife, Valerie. Ken was a lot to our family, so a hole that's not going to get filled. But when I first met Kenny, it was that first trip to Sturgis when Bob talked us into taking this tag along with us, and I didn't know him very well. You know, I just met him, and one of the first mornings, we pull up and fill up our motorcycles at the gas station, and he put diesel in his motorcycle. And Dan will remember this. One thing you don't do with a motorcycle is put diesel in it. You put premium gas, but because he was a trucker at that time, I think he instinctively went to the green pump. And of course, we drained it right away in the parking lot, immediately, but it did affect his bike for the remainder of that trip. And that was my first impression of Kenny is, what an idiot. But he had to take the ride of shame home with me in the truck. I trailered my bike out there. I didn't ride it out. And he had to trailer his bike back. So we got to know each other in the ride home. But anyway, found out he was truly an amazing guy. And I can't even count how much fun we've had with this guy. Talking Frank and Ken into coming on that cruise with us. Frank, just a few years ago, got you and Ken to come on the cruise with us, and so we did some nice vacations besides motorcycle trips. But the one story I wanted to tell was when we went to, Ken was all about, we're going to go to Maine and eat lobster on the coast of Maine. And that's all this trip is about. That's all we're gonna do. We're just gonna get out there and eat lobster on the coast of Maine, and I'm gonna get the biggest lobster there is. And so DJ and Brett were with us on this trip, and we rode out there, and we had the lobster on the coast of Maine, and my suggestion was, let's take a different route on the way back and go through Niagara Falls and see Niagara Falls on the way back and take a different route home. And even though the whole point of the trip was to eat lobster on the coast of Maine, which is all Ken wanted to do, we get to Niagara Falls, and for those of you that have been there, it's much prettier on the Canadian side, you know, because you get to see the Horseshoe Falls from the Canadian side than the New York side of Niagara Falls. But we were afraid to go into Canada. We weren't sure they would let Ken in. Because they do check your background. So we held our breaths at the border, and they let us through. So we thought, oh, we get to see Niagara Falls on the other side. And this was
then
just...
we were worried that the United States wasn't going to let us.
We were. This was legitimate concerns. So we got to see Niagara Falls, and we were looking at the falls. They were beautiful, but how long can you look at Niagara Falls, right? So there was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We said, well, we should get a few more miles under our belt and go another 100 miles or so before we stop for the night. And we always shared hotel rooms, all of us. It was a step above camping, you know. We'd get a room with 2 queen beds and put Ken in a cot. And DJ and Brent would take one queen, we'd take the other, and we'd stick Ken in the middle somewhere. Well, when we got to this hotel, it was like the last hotel room because we hadn't made a reservation, and we were in town. It was a very small hotel room, and we asked, do you have a cot we can rent? And they said yes, but we're looking around this room, and we would have to block the one little space there was getting to the bathroom in the room, it was so tiny. Oh, I missed the main part of the story. And that is, when we were about to leave Niagara Falls at like 2 in the afternoon, Ken all of a sudden got his haunches up and said, there is no way, I came all this way to see Niagara Falls and we're not leaving, you know. And I thought the whole point of the trip was to eat lobster. This was just a detour. So because we said, fine, we'll stay here for a few more hours, and then we decided to get a hotel room at the last minute. So we had this tiny hotel room. And so we got a cot, but there was no place literally to put it in the room. But it did have a balcony. So we stuck the cot out on the balcony and we told him he could look at the falls all night long. And he did, and he loved it out there. Love him so much.
Anybody else? Feel free if you would like. All right, family friend Penny is going to read something that I think Jennifer and Scott and Kenny put together as sort of a closing for this.
My name is Penny, and I've had the privilege of being Jennifer's best friend since the second day of kindergarten. I'm also Crew's godmother. Ken and Linda were second parents to me. They opened their home, they welcomed me, they accepted me. I knew what a father was because I watched Ken, and he loved me like his own. He fed me, he guided me, he counseled me, he was there for me. As I got older, my son had to have an 8-hour brain surgery. And Ken showed up. And he sat there the entire time with us. Came to the hospital, checked on him, checked on me, took me for walks, made sure I was good. There's a huge part of who I am today because of the Albrechts. The inappropriate side. I have the honor to read some words that Jenny put on paper. She didn't think she could get through it, so she asked me, and I didn't pause. Of course, I will. But I want you to stand up there with me. So bear with us as we get through this.
You want me to start? Sure. As we begin to write these words, you're still flooded with memories, and pause to concern how to fit it all in and still honor our dad in his way. Because it's always been his way, and it should end in his way. Dad was a storyteller. So many of you have heard the story time and time again. Today it will hold. Today it will be told with a much deeper purpose.
Ken was born in St. Paul, the 9th and final child to Lawrence and Josephine. He contracted polio in the early 1950s, beginning his journey as a fighter. This profound experience would follow him his entire life, driving his make every day count attitude. Because of polio, he was held back, struggled in school, and got into trouble, like most of the boys, but especially his brothers. Eventually turning 18, he enlisted into the Air Force, failing his physical exam because of the polio. Begging for the chance, he was soon shipped off to Vietnam. Vietnam changed him. He traveled, he had purpose, and he grew up as much as he could. He often referred to these years as the best of his life. He found his sense for adventure and independence. Coming home, a man, very suave and debonair, or as Dad would say, suave and deboner. Wanted you to be And so the love of the Albrechts and the Defoes began. His brother Bob married Donna Defoe and lived next door to his family home. He met and fell in love with our mom, Linda. His life kicked into overdrive. Mom and Dad married in 1970 with Kenny Jr. arriving some months later. Jennifer arrived in 1973. Full speed into a family of 4. Dad worked at Deluxe. He worked for a seamstress. He even tried his hand at Ford Motor Company. Eventually, he landed his career job with North Star Steel. In 1974, Dad bought his first and only house from his brother Frank in South St. Paul and has owned it for almost 50 years. Both Mom and Dad were full of personality. They had love, they had their roles, and they had their challenges. But his make it count attitude continued to drive our family force. And we had a blessed childhood. Dad worked and worked and worked some more. But he had family parties that went too far. He took us fishing. He took us to the beach. He drove us and the dog across the United States to Disneyland. He took us to Valley Fair. He took Jen to Girl Scouts. He came to every choir concert. He took us down the Apple River. He took us on adventures. He took us to visit family and friends. He just showed up. For some, at the perfect moment. And he didn't just take us. He took whoever was on his mind that day.
Dad worked some more, eventually working his way up to foreman at North Star Steel. He built lifetime memories and friendships with his coworkers. Work hard, play hard, then play some more. Perfect attendance, which he enforced on Kenny and I. Our house was filled with these two big personalities, both Mom and Dad, in very different ways. We had very hard challenges, yet through it all, Dad remained our constant. My mom's constant. He never made it easy, but he damn sure always made it and make it work.
Leaving North Star in 1994, he found his love for riding. Purchased his first motorcycle and hit the road at 100 miles per hour, and he never turned back. The wind in his hair, the winding roads, the feeling of adventure, camaraderie, the friendships and chosen family he made along the way will forever be his true love. Dad went to truck driving school and got his license, a year locally and then a couple years long haul. Jennifer met Scott and his grandson Crew was born in 2008. Then suddenly,
October of 2010, our life took a 360 with the sudden passing of his wife and mom, Linda. That very next day, Dad walked into work and retired on the spot. He backpacked the California mountains with his friend Dave. He snowshoed to Voyageurs National Park. He hated Trump and provoked folks on social media. He loved animals and made us have official funerals for them. He walked Jen down the aisle in the Dominican Republic with the worst hangover ever. He went to Oktoberfest in Germany, Switzerland, Amsterdam, and England with Ken Jr., drank lots of beer, and Googled at all the boobs. He went to the Great Wall of China with Jeff and his family and shit in a dirty hole. He never questioned spending money to travel to a wedding or a funeral because no questions asked was the right thing to do. He forever thought everyone was invited, even when there were no formal invites. It was on you for not showing up. He loved the outdoors, old music, a nice deck, Crown Royal, a good cigar, and being surrounded by family and friends. He is the glue. He is the guy, the one that brings you down to earth and forces you to remain present and understand with happiness comes reality. As hard as that reality is, get your ass up and keep going. got 11 free years, 11 years of doing it his way, 100%.
Today we celebrate his life. We celebrate each other and the memories he helped us build. Now, we are officially the gatekeepers of his memories and his stories. Please keep his energy thriving. Please be sure to make every day count. When you love someone, show up. He'd expect nothing less. As I finish, I ask you to look to your right and look to your left. This room is filled with people our dad loved and that he showed up for. Today, you showed up for him, you showed up for us, and we're eternally grateful. I know he's here with us, taking one last drink, one last puff of cigar, and he's beaming with pride. He knows he's loved. Here's to Ken, and here's to our dad. Thank you.
There's a gathering at 4 o'clock at the Croatian Hall. The address is on the card.
Yep.
So, hope to see you all there.
Lots of food.
Obviously Ken had a lot of love with these flowers.
Yeah. We're gonna need some help.
If you're going, you can take one, please take it over there.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. That was awesome. Thank you.